Hello. So I have made about 3 messy videos in a row today. One of them being my sexuality is not fluid, and the other one being there is no solidarity. Lou Johnston, internet provocateur. I actually hate that. I really hope I'm never like that, but at the same time, I guess I kind of am. Inherently by accident. Anyway, this video is about this is a tricky video, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This is disclaimer. This is my experience. This is about me. This is not about anybody else. Everybody has their own experience, and that's it. That being said, I feel like there is a constant weird confusion or like discourse concerning lesbians being mistaken for trans men and trans men being mistaken for lesbians, and how people think that we're the same people, and that it's either you, like, if you are fully like, hey, I'm a lesbian and I'm butch, people are like, oh, you're just a trans man, like you'll transition eventually. Or people who are like straight up like they are trans men, like they are, like that's who they are, and people are like, oh, you're just like a confused lesbian, which is like very like trans exclusive radical feminist rhetoric that I've heard a lot. The thing is, it's not just I feel, like I say I feel a lot, but like in this particular case, like from what I see and what I understand and what I know for a fact, like there's a big difference between being a butch lesbian and being a trans man. And I think it is very hurtful that both of us get confused for each other so often, because the thing is, to me, maybe it's because I am a member of one of the groups that I just mentioned, like which butch lesbian, obviously, like I do see that there is a very big difference. This is not going to be a video like this. I was thinking about this as I was gonna make the video, because I've been thinking about this for like months, possibly years, like talking about this and thinking about this. This is not going to be a video about this is how you clock a trans man, this is how you clock a butch lesbian. Like no, like that's not what this video is going to be about. This is particularly going to be about my own experience and how I personally know for a fact that I am not a trans man. The tricky thing is, I do have gender dysphoria. I was about to say I do identify. I feel like the whole like I do identify thing, I said that's so weird. I do identify. I do identify thing is really tricky, because it's like I feel like for me it's not even just like, oh, I identify. It's like I know for a fact that like I am non-binary, but also I am a lesbian. And I will go into that in a second, even though in the last video I was literally like, I would love to not go into that ever. But to put context in this video, the reason that so many people ask me, and they're like genuinely asking, like some people ask me just to like get a rise out of me. Other people are asking me like genuinely, how do you know you're not a trans man? For me, I know that I'm not a trans man because A, this sounds like the most obvious one. Number one, I do not want to live my life as a man. I do not want people to look at me and call me sir. Like it already happens enough for obvious reasons. Like I'm butch lesbian, but like if people think I'm a boy, which is a whole thing. But it would not make me comfortable if people consistently were like, oh, you're a man, you're a man, you're a man. Like, hey sir, what's up? Like that would not be gender affirming to me. Like that's like, like I would not want to be treated like a man. I would not want to be seen as a man. Just like, I feel like overall that should be enough of a reason, but for some reason people want to be like, oh, well, like, what does it even mean to be so, like, treated in society as a man? It's like, I feel like sometimes when it comes to these conversations, people want to feign willful ignorance. Like, they want to be, like, needling at you just so they can get you to slip up and, like, say, like, oh, well, maybe you're right, and maybe I should, like, no, literally, like, as a foundation, like, straight up, like, how do you know you're not, like, a trans man? How do you know you're not a man? It's like, I just don't want to be a man. Like, I don't want to socially be recognized as a man. That's not a thing that would make me feel good. The second thing is, this sounds so abstract, but like literally, like I am a big fan of reading work by other butch lesbians throughout generations. Like literally, like I love reading different books and different experiences about butch lesbians. And I feel like something that's not talked about a whole lot is that there's so many butch lesbians who feel the way I feel, in the same way of like, I really, really feel separated from my like gender identity as a woman, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I know for a fact that I'm not a man. But it's hard to describe, because you're like, okay, like I am not a man. I do not want to date a man. And it's not even based off of like it's not like that weird thing that people continually try to press on me where it's like, oh, so you're only interested in like people with vaginas, so like technically you're like, I hate this term. It actually makes me really uncomfortable. Like, it's people, whatever, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. Like, this whole, like, gynosexual thing. Like, no, like, I would date and be in a relationship with a trans woman. Like, literally. Like, if the person in question is a butch trans woman, like, I'd want to be in a relationship with her. It would be fine. Like, literally. Like, so it's not even, like, this whole argument of, like, oh, if you're, like, a real lesbian, you're only into, like, vaginas. Which, like, I don't... For me... and for other people who are open to dating trans women who are like either bisexual or they're lesbians, like, I really don't think that's what constitutes being a lesbian. But to get back on track, I just have seen so many examples of like other butch lesbians feeling so similar to me, where they're like, it's really difficult for me to fully identify with womanhood in the way that cis womanhood is like portrayed and like shown and like lived by like cis women, but at the same time, like where am I then? If I'm not a man and I'm not a woman, then like where am I? And it's like, I find that I'm in that place a lot. Once again, the reason I identify as a lesbian and not necessarily like, oh, I'm bisexual because I like dating women and then also non-binary people, is because like that just doesn't feel right to me. Like, it's not like a identity that for me feels like, oh yeah, like that's who I am. Like, I really do, like every single time I think of myself, I'm like, I am a butch lesbian. And the tricky thing is just that I do have gender dysphoria. Like, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I just don't feel right for like a number of reasons. And it's not dysmorphia in the way that I'm like, I look at myself and I don't even recognize myself. Like, it's very particular, like gender specific things that I don't want to go into because I actually hate talking about my dysphoria because it makes me really upset. So that's the second reason. The third reason is just that, like, I think that it would be completely bizarre for me if I was like, and like wrong, if I was actively like, I am a man, like I am a trans man, but I'm exclusively attracted to butch lesbians. That is a whole thing. That would be really weird. And it's not even like, oh, I just in general like gender non-conforming women. Like, no, it's straight up like other people who I have gotten to know and like we've talked and like we have similar experiences, and I know that they are a butch lesbian and I'm a butch lesbian. Like I got a comment that I did not publish because it was really weird and roundabout, and I just didn't want to answer it because I do get weird comments sometimes. It's already 7 minutes long, whatever, it's fine. I feel like this is like a very like, it's a very long topic that I want to like fully go into, because I feel like it's not going to be helpful if I'm just like this and this and that's it, because like I feel like it's such a complicated long thing that so many people have struggled with who identify similarly to me, that it's like I just kind of want to talk about my own experience and clarify why for a fact that was my sun blocker and now the sun has moved, so it's fine. I just want to clarify the fact that like I am who I am and this is why, which sounds like weird and I shouldn't have to prove that to anybody, but I feel like it's a topic that I have not seen broached at all ever, and I feel like it would have maybe been easier for me to come out fully to myself as who I am if I had seen somebody else who had been talking about their own experience. Even though right now I have been talking in this entire video, I felt a little crazy because I'm like, what if what I'm saying doesn't make any sense? And it's like, I'm gonna be honest, like I can't change what I'm saying because it's really how I feel and how I like think about myself. So like there's no other way to say it, so I guess it's just gonna be this way. Yeah, so I really am like a butch who likes other butches, and like people have asked me like, how do you like, it's so weird to say that your attraction is exclusive to this thing that's like a social construct, like being a butch is a social construct. It's like, yeah, it's true, like fucking everything is a social construct, like okay, like we get it, like big brain, like we get it, like you are evolved, but like really, like for me particularly, it's like I feel like I have to get to know somebody before I'm going to be romantically or sexually interested in them. So usually when it comes to like attraction, it's like I feel like obviously I will, if we get to a point where I see somebody and we're interacting, at some point it will come out or come up like, what are your pronouns, like how do you identify, like I don't want to be saying the wrong thing or like assuming the wrong thing. So it will come up in conversation if I like am actually actively interacting with somebody. But the thing is, for me, it's not like I'm just randomly seeing people on the street being like, you're hot. Like for me, at least, that's how I feel about that. I know it's different for other people, but when it comes to me being only attracted to other butch lesbians, like literally, like the reason I can like, it's like, oh, how can you tell they're that identity? It's like, because they told me and we talked about it and I know, and they know me, and like we have an understanding of who we are as people. Like, so when it comes to like me really loving other lesbians, like very particularly butch lesbians, it's just like it would be so weird and not make any sense and be really creepy if I was like straight up like a man being into lesbians exclusively. Like that's really weird. Like I don't even like that concept, because I've known like a few men who are very like, they're like little indie men who are like, wow, I'm so cool and alternative and different, and like because you're gender non-conforming, you must be cool and alternative and different too, but you're straight and we're gonna go on a date now because I'm going to assume that you are just being gender non-conforming to attract other weird, not like other girls people, like literally. And it's like this whole thing. So like the three things that I just stated, which I'm going to recap before I end this very weird video that I know does not make a whole lot of sense to a whole lot of people, but it makes sense to me, is I do not want to go through the world as a man. And I know for a fact that I am not a man. And the concept of me being a man makes me very uncomfortable. And that's just not something that I am or want to be, which I feel like is the main thing, where it's like, dude, if you're like a trans man, you know for a fact that you're like, I want to be a man. Like that sounds like obvious, but I feel like it's so hard to say it any other way, because that's literally just how it is, like for like from what I've heard from like trans guys and like just every single experience, like foundationally it's just straight up like, I am a man and I want to be a man and I will transition to be a man. Like literally, like not saying that I keep putting disclaimers because like I feel like, once again, like not everybody's transition is going to be the same. Like it's very different for everybody. So I'm not going to be like, you are doing these specific things in this specific way in order to become this thing. Like, because I know it's not like that for everybody. But I just don't want to be a man. I don't want to be treated in society as a man. That's not something I want. The second thing is I just identify so heavily with other lesbians, like historically, not only contemporary lesbians who I've had conversations with about these things, and we have had conversations very similar where we're like, wow, yeah, I can't believe you feel that way too, because I feel that way. Like there's so many other lesbians that I identify with who have a similar experience. And then the third thing is just like, why it would be very bizarre of me to be like, maybe I'm a man, but maybe I'm a man who's only attracted to lesbians, because that's really creepy and weird. That's just not something that will ever line up if you're attracted to people who will never ever be attracted to you and would never be into you because of literally identity reasons. So I think that's about everything I have to say. I'm glad that it's 12 minutes because I feel like I could talk about this for hours and I'm not making any fucking sense to anybody else except myself. But the thing is, I feel like these are three main big things that I'm like, when people ask me, how do you know you're not a trans man? You like to dress in a masculine way and you like to like carry yourself in a certain way, which sounds silly, but the thing is, if you see me outside of YouTube, like, I don't know, that's like such a weird way to put it, but it's like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, it's whatever. But like, people are straight up just like, how do you know you're not a man if you're all these things that like could possibly be construed to be, you are a man? And it's like, literally, like, just because you are masculine doesn't mean that you are a man, like literally, like. And that's, I don't know, that's how I feel about myself. If you get it, then I'm glad that you watched this video. If you don't get what I'm saying and I sound like a crazy person, that's literally fine. Like, unsubscribe, whatever. If you're not subscribed, then like, thanks for stopping by, but like, goodbye. And that's about it. I will talk to you soon. Bye.